Good morning, my friends. It is a beautiful sunny day, 53 degrees here in Idaho. We're enjoying our spring, and we are just past the last frost, we think, meaning it is perfect time to get our garden planted. And that brings me to a project that I've been working on all winter. I had a giant tree trimming project that I took care of this last fall. I have these big poplar trees. They'll provide a lot of shade for my house, but insurance company thought it was producing a little too much shade. They wanted me to take the branches down because last thing they want to do is pay for a new roof after one of those branches falls through. So anyways, I got it all trimmed back, but I was left with these giant piles of logs and tree branches that I had no idea how I was going to get rid of. I brought my sister's little goats over to help eat away at the branches, the leaves and whatnot, but there's still just a pile of branches and debris left over. So I was wondering, what can I possibly use all of this debris for? I didn't want to just burn it into ash. You know, ash can be useful, but you know, I think that there's more value left in these logs than just ash. So I was reminded of a concept that I'd seen on a show, Homestead Rescue, where they used large logs as the base for a garden bed to help retain moisture. It releases nutrients over time and makes for a low maintenance garden. It's a concept called hugelkultur, something that I've been working on, this giant pile here. I've been aiming for it to be about 4 feet tall, about 6 feet wide, and over the winter and early spring, I've just been adding to it as I get more dirt broken down and more material. So, got it all sized up. It's all to the height that I'm hoping for, and I got a couple things mixed into it to help add fertility, retain moisture, all that. So, like I was saying, I had all those tree branches left over. I used a lot of them for the hugelkultur, but I had a lot more than that, so I did have to burn a large majority of them, and I used the ash that was left over from that burning as layers inside of this hugelkultur because ash is great for retaining moisture and releasing nutrients. So got a lot of ash mixed in here. I was also able to get quite a bit of manure from a neighbor just down the road. They have miniature horses that they raise, and I was able to get some rotten manure, something that had been sitting out for a couple of years, so it's already dried out, broken down, and ready to cook our vegetables. So I had my neighbor came over with his tractor. He mixed that manure into my dirt here, and this dirt is composed of lawn clippings, leaves, everything that comes from this beautiful yard gets chopped up and thrown into this pile. Now, all this material has been sitting for about 4 or 5 years, so I think that it is ready to be used. I've been told that it's tough to turn lawn clippings and leaves into good garden soil. It just seems to be deficient in quite a few ways. So I wanted to make sure to supplement whatever that deficiency was naturally. What I'm trying to do is limit how much I'm buying from the store to supplement my garden, because when you start buying fertilizers, dirts, mulches, all those things, it kind of ruins the point of gardening, the cost effectiveness of it. Yeah, there's the self-sufficiency of being able to raise your own food, but I do want to try to make it as cost effective as possible. Especially, I have a small family and kids eat a lot of food. So the more we can stock away during these growing seasons, the less we're going to have to get from the store. So I thought a hugelkultur would be a great way to grow a lot of garden space in a fairly limited area, and for it to be fairly low maintenance, because I get a lot of other projects going on and I don't want to babysit my garden all the way through the summer. In past years, I lost my garden by having to babysit it, meaning I haven't had automated watering, and the garden beds weren't situated in a way that they would flourish on their own without much additional maintenance. But I'm really excited for a lot of the advantages that come from the hugelkultur concept, and use those to my advantage and try to make this as easy of a garden as possible to run. So we're going to go over the advantages that come from a hugelkultur, a lot of those ones that are tied around maintenance, keeping that maintenance as simple as possible, as well as the fertility and growth benefits. So stick along for this journey. This is my first attempt at a hugelkultur. I've been told that the first year can be pretty tough because a lot of times those nutrients haven't really been released yet. The logs haven't had a chance to decompose much, but I set these logs down under the soil as soon as possible before winter really got kicking. So I'm hoping that it had a little bit of a chance to decompose over the winter, but we'll see. Another thing I added to the mix was these pine shavings. I had planed quite a bit of ponderosa pine over the spring doing some shelf projects, and ended up with these giant piles of these pine shavings. Wasn't sure quite what I was going to do with it, so I just piled it back here by the garden. but realized it's going to retain moisture really well, and as it breaks down into the soil, it's going to add even more nutrients. So I did mix a good majority of it into the dirt here, but I left some because I want to be able to top the dirt, protect it from the sun, protect the roots, using this as a mulch. Another thing I've been doing to help improve my soil is working on this compost bin that doubles actually as a worm farm. So I just blend up whatever extra stuff we have from the house and toss it in this nice ripe medley. I do mix in some grass clippings or leaves to help give some body to it, and they also recommend having a bit of sand or small rocks because it helps with the digestion of the worms. But worms don't like the sun, so I never see them when I first open it, but if I tip it over, you start to see these red wigglers all over the place. So this thing's been pretty successful. I bought 100 worms earlier this spring and dumped them in here and started turning over this compost. And a few weeks ago, I actually put half of them on the hugelkultur. I left about half in here because I want to keep using the worms to break down whatever organic matter we bring out to the compost bin. But I wanted to get a number of worms working on the hugelkultur because they say that the best soil engineers in the world are worms. So we're going to let them break everything down, turn the soil into exactly what we need to grow the plants that we're looking for. So we'll see how they do. All right, now let's talk about some of the advantages of a hugelkultur, why I want to give it a try. These logs, here's an example of one of the logs that is buried at the very bottom of this hugelkultur. This, when it's sitting under dirt, it's going to retain a ton of water over those hot months, and it's going to slowly release it as the heat comes. It's also going to slowly break down, releasing tons of nutrients into the soil, making for great growing conditions. So, the biggest advantage I see from doing one of these hugelkulturs is low maintenance. It's going to help water itself, it's going to fertilize itself. You're not going to have to till it year over year because the soil is going to keep breaking up because of what's underneath it. So it's going to take very little work to keep this bed producing great fruit and vegetables for the long run. Which leads into my second reason, fertile soil. As all of these different layers break down, those grass clippings, the leaves, the manure, the wood, as all of those things are breaking down, it's going to create a great environment for the fungus and bacteria to break down and release nutrients into the soil. The third reason, and probably my favorite, is the cost effectiveness of it. Almost every material, other than the manure, almost everything that went into this hugelkultur came off of my piece of property. The logs came from my trees out front, the grass clippings came from the ground, and the leaves came from my trees. So the components that went into making this were all locally available. Now, the fourth reason I really wanted to give this a try is because of the light control that you get with this shape of a mound. Now, I have mine running north and south so that I have a west-facing slope and an east-facing slope. There's some plants that prefer morning sun, and if they get too much of that afternoon sun, it'll scorch them and kill them. So those are the plants we're going to plant on this east-facing side, and then some of the ones that want as much sun as they can possibly get, we're going to put on that west-facing slope so they get that intense heat of the afternoon. So I'm excited to see what that gets for me. I hear that peppers get a much better flavor when they get the appropriate amount of sunlight, so I'm excited to see what that means for my future salsas. Speaking of light control, let me show you the plans that I have for the layout of this garden. All right, so this is what I have drafted out for my garden. See, I drew out the hugelkultur dimensionally to see just how much space I had. Then I made a list of all the things that I'd like to grow. I started crossing things off as I found places for them. I also drew out the north and south facing slope just so I can plan out what to keep in those triangles. But as far as my plans go, see, I got carrots going up the middle here. And they're going to be right at the very peak of that hugelkultur, giving it kind of a mohawk look. I thought that might be kind of funny when I go out there and look at it. But then on this east-facing slope, I have these jalapeno plants just below it, 6 of them. They're about 18 inches down from the carrot and a little over a foot apart, so it should give plenty of room for those jalapenos to grow. Then green cucumbers below that, as well as a yellow cucumber to the right. And we got quite a few strawberry plants that we have planned to plant on this east-facing side. First, I just got to find those starts. Now, as far as the east-facing slope, I've got beans down here below the carrots. 23 of those, hoping to get some pretty good bean bushes growing there. And then bell peppers, 3 of them, about 18 inches down from the ridge. And then some spaghetti squash down here at the bottom that I hope are just going to spill out into the yard. Now, as far as the north and south facing slope, north is getting very little light. So I put watermelons over there, even though they're going to need quite a bit of light, but I imagine that their leaves are going to reach up high enough that they're going to find light anyways. And then I actually have marigolds above them to help bring in the right insects, some pollinating insects, just to help the health of the rest of the garden. And then on the south facing slope, I got a zucchini plant at the bottom. I only did one because one zucchini plant is enough for a small village. And then above that, I have a single serrano plant that I'm hoping to get some good serrano peppers out of, because that is a very important part to my salsas. So let's get this all planted. First things first, let's give our hugel a mohawk, at least plant it. Kind of reminds me of those chia plants growing up, where yeah, you grow like a hairdo on them. But I'm just gonna make a nice little line here in the center with this rake that I'm gonna just drop all these seeds in, cover them back up, and we'll see what happens to them. These seeds only go 1/4 to a 1/2 inch deep, so trying not to overdo it. But that should be plenty of space for these. Now I'm gonna do some colored ones over on this side. Rainbow mix. Should be delicious. I don't know, we'll see. Actually, I've never had rainbow carrots before. Did it more for the aesthetic, but we'll see what we like. It's all about experimenting. Who knows, maybe these will be our favorite carrots. All right, so we're gonna put some of these in my hand, and I'm going to slowly drop them all in this little trench that I made. Might be overdoing it, but whatever. Let's learn. You know, the best way to learn is to make mistakes. It's not about doing it right all the time, it's just about doing it. Learn along the way. But let's plant this mohawk. At least our hugel will have the coolest style in the neighborhood. Might not produce the best this first year, but geez, is that all of them? All right, that's all of them. Oh yeah. I forgot my plans. Rainbow mix is going on the left side. So, looks like I already overlapped that a tiny bit, but that's okay. Because we're just out here growing vegetables. Not necessarily exactly what we want where we want. I'm okay with having a cluster garden. All right, long imperials, here we go. All right, carrots are in. All right, what's next? For this east-facing side are these jalapenos. I'm gonna have them almost 1.5 feet down from the top and about 1 foot apart from each other. So let's start here. Said to plant them to root height or possibly 1 inch deeper. Let's give that a go. Move over about 1 foot. Let's get our next one going. I'm using my daughter's shovel from her Stanley Jr. set. I got her a couple weeks ago at Costco. She's a big fan, but she actually prefers my tools. So I have no idea where my garden shovel is because somebody stole it. That's okay, we'll make use of what we got. 2 jalapenos. right, jalapenos are in. Now it's time for our green cucumbers. About 18 inches below the peppers, about a foot apart. Really shallow planting depth, just a ½ inch. So just gonna use our finger on these. And let's go ahead and do 2 seeds per hole just to increase our odds. 18 inches down, a couple inches deep. Whoop, there we go. All right. You know what? I really like pickles, and we don't have a whole lot planned for this side yet. So let's do a second row of them. It says to keep them a foot apart or so. We might end up a little bit closer than that, but who knows if all these are going to take off anyways. All right, cucumbers planted. I had 1 yellow cucumber on the list. We'll keep it pretty low to the ground. There we go. One lemon cucumber and about 10 or 12 cucumber plants. Ah! 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 What you got there? What's that? What got stuck to the table? Is this some of the homemade kinetic sand Mama made? Is that fun? Yeah, Mommy made it. Thank you, Mommy. Hey, what are you looking at? These are seeds. It's a lemon cucumber. I just planted it in the garden. You want to help me go get the next seeds to plant in the garden? You want to help Daddy? You're too busy? Too busy playing. All right, let's see what goes next. Ooh, nice big seeds. Magic beans. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bean plants across the top. I'm about halfway down. Got a lot of space. Let's do another row. All right, beans are planted. Now there's still one more really important step to this hugelkultur, and it's going to be mulching it. Now I wanted to wait until my seeds have actually sprouted before I cover it with mulch, because if mulch holds down weeds, I can only imagine it would also hold down my starts. So I'm going to wait a little while for those to come up. It's supposed to be pretty mild weather for the next few days, so I'm hoping that those can get germinated before my starts get scorched. But I am brand new at this, so if anybody has any recommendations for me, any tips, tricks, things I shouldn't do next time or should try next time, please let me know in the comments. We're trying to do better, we're trying to learn, we're trying to pass on the things that we're figuring out. So that about does it for today. If you like today's episode, give us a like. That helps us a lot with the algorithm. If you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe. We'd like to see you again next time. And if this hugelkultur ends up doing half as good as I hope it will, we're definitely going to share those results with you. Till next time, this has been Jake with Pantry Prep.